Hey there, and welcome back to another Obi-Wan Kenobi review. And today, we'll be talking about the latest episode to drop, the creatively titled Part 3. So when we left off, we saw Obi-Wan and Leia escape Daiyu on a cargo ship after Reva, the third sister of the Inquisitors, murdered the Grand Inquisitor and revealed that Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, is alive and that he's hunting Obi-Wan, causing our sad, lonely Jedi to shit his pants. And so, that's where we find ourselves at the start of Part 3. Obi-Wan is once again trying to contact Qui-Gon, but can't. Probably because his traumas largely cut him off from the Force, and thus he's not able to do all the things he used to be able to do. And then, he starts ruminating on Reva's words, and freaking out that Anakin's alive. And as Obi-Wan does this, we see the scene intercut with shots of Vader getting suited up, and we hear Obi-Wan reflect on the events of Revenge of the Sith, and Anakin's fall to the dark side. And this scene was great. It was just perfection. It just sets the tone of the episode to come. It continues to show how having his entire Jedi family torn away by his surrogate son, who he then had to duel and watch melt in a lava field before retiring to live an awful life as a desert hermit cutting meat, would weigh pretty heavily on your mental health, causing depression and now anxiety and fear that comes with knowing that this isn't over. Anakin's still alive, and he's still coming for you. I'd be scared shitless too. And also, seeing Hayden in the suit, perfection. Because then we get our first proper look at Darth Vader on Mustafar, and with James Earl Jones voicing, which was nice. Dude's getting old, and in the past couple appearances, I felt like his voice was weakening a bit, but here it felt like a return to classic Vader, or at least close enough to make little difference. He brushes over the Grand Inquisitor's supposed death as he yells at Reva over the holo, and demands that she find Kenobi, or she will be the next to die. And honestly, it would be quite funny if this character that they're building up to be some sort of badass warrior dies via force choke like some poor officer that said something Vader didn't like during the original trilogy. Anyway, he continues to threaten and rage, and then he logs off the call and stares out the window like the edgelord that he is. We then cut back to Obi-Wan and Leia for some premium cuteness as Obi-Wan talks through what using the Force feels like, a feeling of safety in a sea of darkness, before he gives her fixed up droid Lola. And this whole scene, it just reeked of wholesome. Very cute, and honestly, the girl who plays Leia in this is just great. I think she did such a good job. And she really captures the heart of the character in my view. And I'm really liking the little bond they have going on here. So much of Obi-Wan's story is tied up with Anakin and Luke. And it's nice to see Leia get that time with him as well. That backstory in history. And after all this, the message she sends him at the start of A New Hope is going to mean a whole lot more as well. When she calls him her only hope, she means it. And it shows why she has that trust and faith in him. Anyway, the pair land on the planet Maputo, a mining world which has been ravaged by the Empire, and find nothing. Nobody to meet them. Nobody nearby except stormtroopers supervising droids loading goods into transports. And also, the theme that plays when they land on this planet is another entrant into the playlist of glorious Star Wars tracks. Seriously, I just can't think of many duds that have come out of Star Wars. And every entrant into the franchise just has some sort of new iconic theme. These composers earn their pay, that's for damn sure, and this one's no exception. But back to the heroes. The pair find themselves wandering through fields together, with Obi-Wan scolding Leia, quite harshly in my opinion, for being too trusting of Harsha the con artist, before he notices off in the distance a vision of what Anakin might have looked like if he hadn't been immolated on Mustafar. And yeah, the PTSD is seemingly getting worse and worse. And I'm guessing next episode, we're going to continue to see him spiral into despair after his encounter with Vader. So we have all that angsty goodness to look forward to. Poor Obi-Wan. Dude's life really has been ruined in almost every possible way. Moving on though, we cut to Reva's arrival at the Fortress Inquisitorius, where she once again clashes with even more Inquisitors, this time the fifth brother and the fourth sister, and has to threaten them with Lord Vader's displeasure in order to get them to do what she wants. But yeah, they're definitely going to duel at some point this season. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. I really want a good lightsaber battle. And I know a lot of people have been talking about how Reva's acting's a bit poor, but does anybody think that the fifth brother is trying way too hard to sound edgy and raspy and hardcore? Like, at times for me, he's almost unwatchable. So yeah, I find it hard to care if Reva sounds a little bit stilted compared to that. Back to Ben and Leia, the two find that nobody's at the meeting place, and so Leia decides that hitching a ride to the spaceport seems like the best idea for them. And so they flag down a random speeder owned by Imperial sympathizer Freck, a literal mole man, and introduce themselves as Luma and Orden, farmers from Tall who are visiting the planet and need a ride to the spaceport. And it all seems to be going quite well, although in hindsight the mole is asking a lot of questions, so obviously he was sus. Until some stormtroopers hitch a ride, telling the group they're being moved around in search of the Jedi fugitive that's rumoured to be on the planet. They ask Obi-Wan and Leia about their cover, and it's almost blown when Obi-Wan calls Leia by her real name instead of Luma. But they manage to pass it off as him mixing up her name with her mother's name. And honestly, these troopers deserve a Vader force choking session. Surely they'd know the Jedi is with a little girl. Surely the Empire told them that. And surely you'd be briefed on, I don't know, key Jedi characteristics, like the classic brown hooded cloak that this random off-world farmer who is with a little girl and suspicious is conveniently wearing. Come on fellas, try a bit harder. Anyway, the troopers get off the transport and then Leia asks Obi-Wan about her real mother, as she can tell that he knew her. And then we hit a heartbreaking moment where she hopefully asks him if he's her birth father, to which he replies that he wishes he could say he was. And just the heartbreak in her little face. Oh. Also, I've seen a lot of people say that this means Obi-Wan was in love with Padme or that they had a thing at some point, and I'm just like, what? When he says this, he clearly means that he wishes the two of them were family, that he could be that figure in her life that she clearly yearns for. Not that he wanted to get freaky with his brother/son's wife. And side note, I think it's a little bit sad that nobody's told her about her birth family. Like, it wouldn't be common knowledge that Anakin's Vader, so why can't her parents tell her who her birth parents were? Just make up some lies. You don't have to say he's evil. Just say they're both dead and give them the names. Say they were heroes. Seems like a nice thing to do for a little girl who's lonely and misses her birth family, who feels like she's missing a part of herself. Come on, guys. It just seems a bit needlessly cruel. She isn't stupid. If you tell her it needs to remain secret to keep her safe, I doubt she'd go blabbing. But anyway, back to the Padme thing. These two were clearly platonic. Come on, man. This is the shit that Palpatine said to make Anakin turn evil, getting in his head. People who actually believe this kind of thing make me scratch my head. How could they possibly miss the point of the scene so thoroughly? Obi-Wan then goes on to describe how he knows what she feels, and that his family gave him up to the Jedi, and therefore, he can only remember glimpses of them, flashes of them. And we even learn that he had a little brother that he hardly remembers. So that was a bit of a bummer. They then arrive at a checkpoint and Freck sells them out to the stormtroopers who perform a check with the probe, and obviously it identifies him, and Obi-Wan is forced to slaughter the entire garrison and KO Freck for good measure, with one stormtrooper getting brutally bisected by the energy gate. Ugh, Disney. But still, no lightsaber, just blasters. I'm guessing that's going to figure into his PTSD and the anti-Jedi complex he has going on. Although I'm a bit unsure as to how he was able to have his hand resting on his blaster waiting and the stormtroopers just watched him do it. Pretty inefficient if you ask me. And also, what's the point of their armor if the blasters seem to kill them in one hit? Are they dead or does the suit prevent that and they just get knocked out somehow? Hell, in episode 1, when the Jedi were shot, it left a molten hole in their body. This just leaves a black smudge on their suit, so are they even dead? I've never thought about this before. If so, the dude that got cut in half is unlucky. I mean, these are the big questions I need to know the answers to. Anyway, they make it through the checkpoint only to be confronted by more stormtroopers, who are abruptly killed by an officer, Tala, who reveals herself to be the contact they were supposed to meet. So if they'd only waited at that spot for a little longer, none of this would have happened. Oopsie, impatience. They then make their way to a safe house, and after a cute little scene where Obi-Wan comforts Leia, another where Leia continues to bond with every droid in the galaxy, and a fun reference to Quinlan Vos being part of the fledgling Rebel Alliance protecting younglings, we start to get to the heavy shit. The trio are about to leave through a secret tunnel when Obi-Wan's spidey sense starts a-tingling, and he looks outside to see the Inquisitors and Darth Vader, who starts killing townsfolk, just because he can. Seriously, this scene is terrifying. Just like in Rogue One, you get to see just how violent and dangerous Vader can be. Just a great scene all around, and filled with so much tension and fear. Because on one hand, Obi-Wan knows he has to confront him to save people and protect Leia. But on the other hand, he doesn't want to face him at all. He's terrified. Also, when Vader snaps that kid's neck, they show Reva all shocked. Is this going to be revealed to be some deep, deep cover situation? Or are they going to be planting the seeds for some sort of redemption arc? Will she try to get closer to Vader to try and assassinate him? Or is she just scared that he's so strong that he can just snap your neck like that? And also, that poor village woman. Her husband and her son were just killed out of the blue for literally no reason. Although later on you do see her still holding her husband's body. And maybe I've got it all wrong, but I feel like if your kid and your husband both died, you'd probably cradle your kid. So, maybe the husband's actually still alive, just very injured, and she's tending to him to try and keep him alive. I mean, every cloud has to have its silver lining, right? Let me hope. Although imagine waking up after that and being told your son was brutally killed trying to save you. That'd be a bummer. Moving on though, we see that Vader has mastered the ability to teleport, as he manages to somehow circle around Obi-Wan and confront him. And just as it looks like we're going to get our fated rematch from Mustafar, Obi-Wan runs away. And the genre shifts to horror, as he finds himself panicking in the dark with only his lightsaber to light his way, as Vader stalks him through the quarry. And then in true Anakin fashion, he also blames him for everything that's gone wrong in his life, showing an astounding lack of self-awareness. But back with Leia and Tala, Leia convinces Tala that Obi-Wan is washed up and has no chance, and thus Tala goes back for him, whilst Leia continues onwards with Reva in hot pursuit. And at this point, Obi-Wan proves Leia right, as he gets battered across the quarry by Vader one-handed, all the while getting mocked for his weakness. Seriously though, to go from Master Warrior to Premium Weakling is a sad fate. Seriously, even Luke from the Cloud City duel had a better showing than this, and he got embarrassed in that battle. Anyway, Vader starts a fire and uses the Force to dominate Obi-Wan's body and lift him into the air, before dragging him through the flames as he screams. And Jesus, this was intense. I really liked how dark and violent they've made Vader. We never really get to see him go off the chain like this on screen, only in books and stuff. And honestly, at the risk of sounding very edgy, I hope there's more where this came from. Luckily for Obi-Wan, he decides he wants to make this last as long as he can, and he douses the flames before Obi-Wan's saved by Tala and the loader droid. And I've seen people confused as to why Vader didn't chase them down again, but honestly I think he wants to see who's helping Obi-Wan so he can kill them as well. He's probably confident that they don't have a way to escape the planet now that it's in lockdown. But it does seem like they do have a way off the planet, so tough luck for Vader. But also tough luck for Obi-Wan, as Leia is at this point captured by Reva, who's murdered the pilot. Bad luck, kid. And so that brings us to the end of the episode. And yeah, this was it. This is the way. A great episode that really showed off a lot of tremendous writing and character development, with excellent action, world building, and even music. It fired on all cylinders. But anyway, with all that being said, these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? Like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.